School districts across the nation are experiencing extreme difficulties when putting COVID-19 protocols in place. Coming up, we look at how one Arizona school district is handling the backlash.
And up next, an in-depth look into the COVID-19 booster shots, the details on how they could affect you.
And later on Break It Down, a look at colorism in the Hispanic culture and why it needs to be talked about.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Carolina Hassett.
And I'm Lauren Quinlan. Thank you for joining us.
The National School Boards Association recently sent a letter to President Biden asking for federal help. Members say they're continuing to face threats and violence when it comes to COVID-19 protocols. I looked into how one Arizona school district is working to keep its staff and administrators safe. School board meetings. This is what school districts are experiencing not only across Arizona, but across the nation.
Shame on you! Shame on you!
And school board members are at the center of it all. State Representative Mitzi Epstein was a former school board member and is familiar with how pushback can affect meetings.
I have talked to so many teachers and a few principals as well who are very worried, and they just want to teach kids.
Our school board members have been called child abusers, tyrants, if you will.
Gabriel Trujillo, the superintendent of the Tucson Unified School District, says that many parents are refusing to cooperate with COVID-19 contact tracing procedures.
Yelling at administrators on the phone, shouting at administrators from parking lots, threatening lawsuits. Those are really kind of the most common actions we've seen.
Several schools have decided to take extra safety precautions in order to protect staff members. For the Tucson Unified School District, this means directing all meetings online and limiting parent pickups to the parking lots.
We've taken every possible precaution because it only takes a handful of parents or members of the public to decide that violence is the best way to get their voices heard.
While this limits in-person confrontations, parents still turn to voicing their concerns online.
I think for the last year and a half, what we have seen is a lot of bullying, a lot of harassment, especially online harassment with board members.
When it comes to parents and administrators reaching a common ground, Trujillo thinks this may not be possible, especially with new vaccine mandates coming out across the country.
If you think that people are passionate about the vaccine for themselves, you times that passion times 10 when you're talking about their children.
The National School Board Association asked the Biden administration for federal law enforcement and safeguards in place to protect students and education leaders at school.
Pfizer announced they applied for emergency use authorization for its vaccine for kids. Now, kids aged 5 to 11 could be receiving their first COVID vaccine before the end of the month. The FDA panel is scheduled to meet October 26 to go over the data before giving approval. The White House says it's prepared to handle the additional vaccine distributions with supplies ready to be sent to pediatrician offices and more. However, the vaccine will still need the CDC's recommendation if they get the FDA's approval. But based on the timeline of Pfizer's vaccine for adults, some kids could be fully vaccinated by Thanksgiving.
Today, we bring you the second in our news segment examining facts and myths around COVID-19. Cronkite News health reporter Camila Williams is here to answer your questions about coronavirus boosters.
Welcome to Case by Case. Today, we're talking about the COVID-19 vaccine booster shot. What is a booster shot? Who needs one and what's in them? I'm answering those questions for you right now.
A booster shot is an additional dose of a vaccine that is intended to boost or increase the protective response. Boosters are typically needed every 10 years for certain vaccines, like the shot that protects you from tetanus. However, the CDC recommends that certain people who have received their full dosage of the Pfizer vaccine get a booster shot. That's because some studies show protection from the vaccine may decrease over time. So the question we're answering today is, do you need a booster shot? Dr. Albert Shaw has the answer. He is an infectious disease specialist at Yale University's School of Medicine. Some of his research includes immune function and vaccine responses in humans.
Folks that have medical conditions that weaken their ability to respond to vaccines or their ability to have protective responses to infections. For those individuals right now, an extra dose is recommended to try to boost that response so that their ability to protect themselves and others against infection is more comparable to people that don't have these conditions.
The Pfizer booster is essentially one more shot of the same vaccine, same dosage and same formulation. Those boosters are also available for seniors as well as adults who work in places where they are more likely to be exposed to COVID. The FDA is meeting next week to discuss booster shots of the Moderna and Johnson & Johnson vaccines. For more information about the COVID vaccine and other immunizations, go to www.cdc.gov/vaccines. In the broadcast studio, Camila Williams, Cronkite News.
The status and management of the drought is a deep concern, especially for those who live in the western United States. Coming up, we look into a Senate hearing which focuses on the drought issue and how they plan to tackle it.
Plus, the Bears Ears National Monument in Utah is about to get bigger in size. We'll explain coming up.
Passport is adding new shows and doubling the number of episodes for you to stream. For the first time ever, our most popular programs have been selected just for you.
But there's so much more.
Whether you like to travel,
wow,
feast,
and calories don't count.
Look back,
That is me.
discover.
And you know the whole story.
There's something for everyone.
Let's get to it right away.
Stream on any device with Passport on the PBS Video app.
What you get from Washington Week that you will not get anywhere else are the best and the brightest reporters from different media companies, and they're able to have a real conversation about things that are happening in Washington and around the country. But it's also a show about issues that are relevant to different communities.
How do you think that?
As the moderator, I feel this deep responsibility to bring in those other perspectives so that people understand how power and politics impact their daily lives.
Friday nights at 7 on Arizona PBS.
Cronkite News provides students at ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism with the opportunity to gain real-world experience in the newsroom. At Cronkite News, our students produce professional content for audiences by taking on all roles, whether they be reporting, anchoring, producing, or studio production. Each department gives students first-hand professional newsroom experience. For more information, visit cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Water levels in Lake Mead and Lake Powell are at historic lows and getting lower. State and federal officials this week discussed measures that could help eventually, as Kimberly Silverio Bautista reports from our Washington Bureau.
We stand to lose 18% of our annual Colorado River water allocation.
State and federal officials say they are projects that could address the water shortages in the western U.S. eventually. Unfortunately for Arizona residents, the problem is now.
Central Arizona farmers are in a bad spot because they've got to cut back their water usage first. They know this, they've been preparing for it.
Arizona Senator Mark Kelly was speaking after a hearing this week on the historic drought in the West and the impact it has had on water resources. Falling water levels at Lake Mead and Lake Powell on the Colorado River has already triggered cuts that will take effect next year.
A declared shortage in 2022 will result in Arizona losing 512,000 acre-feet of water, or 18% of its total Colorado River entitlement.
Arizona Department of Water Resources Director Tom Bushashki and others at the hearing said there could be some help coming in the Biden administration's proposed infrastructure bill.
As I mentioned today in this hearing on Western Water, there's over $8 billion. That's for water storage and resiliency. And this is, this is critical for us to solve this drought that's now going on over 20 years.
But those projects won't help now. With the Colorado projected to fall so low that it could threaten hydropower generations at dams on the river, what's needed now is more conservation and more cooperation between states and the Colorado Basin, officials say.
It will be essential to maintain the close coordination with our partners on the ground as we move forward, if we do continue to see continued dry and warm conditions that are predicted.
Bushashki said at the end of his testimony that climate change and drought will likely increase, but with
proper planning, management, robust conservation, and collaboration across political jurisdictions and among stakeholders, create the greatest likelihood for success today and into the future.
In Washington, Kimberly Silverio Bautista, Cronkite News.
One long-term solution to the water shortage is the construction of a desalination plant that could treat water from the Sea of Cortez. Bushatsky says studies have shown the idea is economically feasible, but that it would take 8 to 10 years to bring such a project online.
President Joe Biden is restoring 2 national monuments in Utah and making them a lot bigger. The monuments Bears Ears and Grand Staircase Escalante take up more than 3.2 million acres of land. Restoring these monuments will reverse a decision by former President Donald Trump, who opened these lands for mining and development during his presidency. The area includes red rock lands that Native Americans hold sacred, as well as ancient cliff dwellings with petroglyphs. Biden is also restoring a marine monument off the coast of New England, which has sea canyons and underwater mountains.
The 80-degree weather is feeling really nice in Phoenix today, but the sky is still filled with clouds. Evan Liss is in the Weather Center to update us on the weekend forecast.
A lot of mid to high level clouds out and about above Arizona today, and that's all due to this upper level disturbance that's really affecting the states north of our border with a fair amount of precipitation. That's not going to be the case for Arizona. We're just going to have those clouds. That moves out in time for the weekend as high pressure temporarily moves in and starts to clear out our skies and bump up our temperatures. Going to be a great pool weekend. That is before a really strong low pressure system moves in at the beginning of next week, and its effects are going to be something that you're going to want to pay attention to because you're going to feel it if you live anywhere in the Southwest. Really cool temperatures on tap. Looking into this evening, pretty much average, 84 degrees at 8 p.m., 82 at 9, and 80 degrees at 10 p.m. as clouds really start to dissipate with high pressure coming back in. Looking at our highs tomorrow, 86 degrees in Phoenix, 86 degrees in Yuma. They match. That's not normally the case. I think Yuma's cooling down with the low coming in at the beginning of next week. And then 61 degrees in Flagstaff, starting to cool down up there. This 8-day is a really, really important one. While all sunshine pretty much is on the board, it's the temperatures that you're going to want to pay attention to. The beginning of it is normal Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Mid to high 80s, but then Tuesday, huge difference. 70 degrees on Tuesday. That is stuff that we're used to. That temperature, 70 degrees, just barely hitting it. That's what we're used to seeing in February, December, January. Then 75 degrees on Tuesday. High pressure moves back in at the end of the week, bumping up our temperatures to where we're supposed to be. For now, I'm Evan Liss in the Cronkite News Weather Center.
I'm Amna Spawn. Coming up after the break, I'll have your Cronkite Sports Report. How one local team is giving back to the community after winning a new field from the Cardinals.
Cronkite News is more than your local news station. Through our innovative ideas, we create new ways to connect with our viewers and have their stories be heard. Our cutting-edge technology allows us to take a deeper dive into seeking the truth and delivering new perspectives. Stay up to date on top Arizona stories anytime on TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook at Cronkite News.
Every day I wake up, my first thought is, how can I serve this community?
The biggest hurdle was not taking PTSD personally.
Would you welcome, please, the amazing.
Everybody that watches this, they say that I am the greatest that they've ever seen.
Hey, I'm Rick Steves. You know, I don't go anywhere without my passport. And now,
Thanks to PBS Passport, you can travel with me and watch all 10 seasons of Rick Steves' Europe and all my travel specials. This exclusive streaming service is just for our members. Not only can you see all my shows, but you can see thousands of hours of your favorite public television shows. Become a member today and get your passport.
Welcome back. I'm Amna Sapon, and here is your Cronkite Sports Report. It is a decisive Game 5 tonight between the Mercury and the Aces to see who will take on the Chicago Sky in the WNBA Finals. The Mercury will be shorthanded for the game. Starting guard Kia Nurse suffered a torn ACL in their Game 4 defeat, while fellow guard Sophie Cunningham is questionable to play with calf strain. Nurse's absence gives the Mercury a huge void on the defensive front.
I think it shows how important Kia Nurse has been to our success to date, and so it's really unfortunate. But look, single elimination now. We have to stay aggressive if we have any chance of going into Vegas and winning that game.
Also on tap for tonight is a Pac-12 football showdown between the number 22 Arizona State and Stanford. Both schools are coming off top 25 upsets, with last week ASU defeating UCLA and Stanford taking down the former number 3 Oregon Ducks. A win tonight for the Sun Devils will give them a 2-game cushion at the top of the Pac-12 South Division. Kickoff in Tempe is set for 7:30. The Mesquite Wildcats are back-to-back 4A football state champions, and now they have a little more to celebrate thanks to the Arizona Cardinals and State Farm, who donated them a new field. Cronkite News reporter Cam Dyer tells us how the Wildcat community broke in the new grass.
Saturday mornings are usually for sleeping in and relaxing, but for the Mesquite football team, they wanted to do more. That meant waking up early and breaking in their new field by hosting a camp for local elementary students.
Man, it's exciting being with little kids, Yeah. Like, these are like the future of I was there one day, so for me to be here we need to. I think it's just fun because we're just here having a good time.
This field was filled with kids of all ages playing the sport that they love. But for most involved, it wasn't about football. It was about giving back and building the community.
We truly believe that Mesquite High School should be the hub of the Mesquite community, and so our kids are out here with their coaches and giving their time back and to the game they love and has given them so much, and they're here to pass that love on to the kids in our community.
At the camp, kids had the chance to hone in their football skills and meet former NFL players such as Ben Patrick. But he thinks the time they got to spend with the Wildcat players is truly invaluable.
You don't get an opportunity every day to get that close to a player, or sometimes for kids, a more realistic thing is to be around the high school kids, because they do want to be like them, at some point in life.
Children that were invited to the program all come from neighborhoods around the high school and may become future Wildcats.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I hope they come here and realize that Mesquite's a great school and look at it as a place where they want to come to school, that they fall in love with the Wildcats and get to know those players and find some heroes that they can look up to.
This championship team is also making sure that they are champions in their community.
All right, give me 1, 2, 3.
In Gilbert, Cam Dyer, Cronkite News.
That's all for your Cronkite Sports Report. Back to you, Carolina and Lauren.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us. For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.